Did you ever terminate or discipline an FBI employee because they had been assigned or worked on an investigation of Donald Trump or January 6th?
FBI
yes or no?
employees are only terminated
Yes
if
or
they
no,
fail
Mr.
to
Patel?
uphold their oaths of
Yes or
office
no?
and duty.
You're not
That's
answering
the
my
FBI
question.
I don't have to answer your question yes or no because you're setting up a trap so you can have a media
I'm not
narrative,
setting up a trap
and I'm not giving it to you.
Unless it's true that you fired people.
People
in
have
whole
been
or in part
terminated at
because
the
they
FBI who fail to uphold
were
the
assigned
standards
to.
that the FBI requires them
Did you
to
tell
uphold.
that people that were identified as having worked on cases against President Trump would be removed from their jobs? Did you tell that to someone at the FBI?
People are not removed for
Just
case
answer my question.
assignments.
Just answer my question. Did you tell that to someone?
People are not removed for case
No,
assignments.
you're not answering my question.
And I would
Mr.
never
Patel,
tell anyone.
Have you released all of the stuff that the FBI has seized from Epstein's house? The computers, the emails, the file cabinets, the documents? What about the financial records? Have you released all of that?
Everything the court has allowed us to
Which
release.
court are you talking about?
3 separate federal courts have come in and said.
We're talking about the evidence you've got. It's got nothing to do with what those courts have.
Do you have any
We're talking
idea
about
how the law works?
Wait.
Do you want me to break the law in a federal judge's order?
No, I want you to follow your own
curiosity?
word, Director Patel. You said up there it was under the direct control of the FBI director. He had the black book.
Everything I have direct control over, we have gone to court. You haven't.
Complete your sentence. Everything you have direct control over, you said.
The Bureau of Prisons decided on their own, without any consultation with Blanche or anyone else, that they were going to suddenly, after this interview, completely unrelated to this interview, completely unrelated to anything she said, move her to a prison not suitable for a sex offender. You want the American people to believe that? Do you think they're stupid?
No. I think the American people believe the truth, that I'm not in the weeds on the everyday movements of
you're
inmates.
not in the weeds?
What I am doing is protecting this country, providing historic reform, and combating the weaponization of intelligence by the likes of you. And we have countlessly proven you to be a liar in Russiagate, in January 6th. You are the biggest fraud to ever sit in the United States Senate. You are a disgrace to this institution and an utter coward.
Yesterday, Congressman Massey and I went to the Department of Justice to read the unredacted Epstein files. We spent about 2 hours there, and we learned that 70 to 80% of the files are still redacted.
What you are about to watch is not just another congressional hearing. This is a senator holding the FBI director to his own words, the exact promises he made under oath during his confirmation hearing. No politicization. No retributive actions. No terminations for case assignments. Those were his exact commitments. Under oath, before Congress. And now, months later, active lawsuits filed by terminated FBI agents allege the exact opposite happened. Agents fired because they worked on Trump investigations. An FBI director who allegedly told his team the FBI tried to put the president in jail, and he hasn't forgotten it. And Ghislaine Maxwell, the only person convicted in Epstein's trafficking network, transferred to a more comfortable prison immediately after giving testimony that named Trump cabinet members as part of Epstein's circle. As an independent journalist, what makes this hearing different from every previous Patel exchange is that the senator isn't working from anonymous sources or media reports. He is working from Patel's own words, his confirmation oath, his Glenn Beck interview, his recorded statements, and the Maxwell interview transcript that the DOJ itself released. When a man's own words become the evidence against him, that is the most dangerous kind of accountability hearing. Let's go through it.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Patel, during your confirmation hearing, you made several important commitments. For instance, you told Senator Coons there will be no politicization at the FBI. There'll be no retributive actions taken by any FBI should I be confirmed as FBI director. So let me ask you very specifically, did you ever take any action to terminate or discipline an FBI agent or employee in whole or in part as retribution for being part of an investigation of Donald Trump or January 6th?
No.
You also committed, you assured Senator Blumenthal, all FBI employees will be protected against political retribution. So you're testifying today that you played no role in the firing of even a single FBI agent for political retribution.
None for political retribution.
And if any FBI agent said you did, they would be lying. Is that your testimony?
I'm only speaking to my actions. Everybody is allowed to make their allegations.
The senator opens by doing something that requires no new evidence and no anonymous sources. He reads Patel's own sworn words back to him. No politicization at the FBI. No retributive actions. All FBI employees protected against political retribution. These are not characterizations of what Patel said. They are direct quotes from his confirmation testimony, now being used as the legal standard against which his conduct is being measured. The first question is clean and direct. Did you ever terminate or discipline any FBI agent in whole or in part as retribution for working on a Trump or January 6th investigation? Patel says no. None for political retribution. That denial is now on the congressional record, alongside active lawsuits filed by terminated agents who allege the exact opposite. One of those two things is true, and the next 4 minutes of this hearing are designed to find out which one Patel is willing to defend under oath.
If FBI, senior FBI agents or employees said that you were firing them for political retribution reasons because of the cases they were assigned, you're saying they would be lying. Is that your
Anyone that
testimony?
was terminated at the FBI was done so for failing to meet the standards, uphold their constitutional oath, and effectuate the mission.
Well, by meet the standards, are you talking about meet the standards of protecting the president under any circumstance?
No.
You also guaranteed Senator Blumenthal that every FBI employee will be held to the same, absolute same standard. No one will be terminated for case assignments. Are you testifying today that you never terminated anyone at the FBI, in whole or in part, because of a prior case assignment?
No one at the FBI is terminated for case assignments alone.
Well, I'm asking about you, Mr. Patel. Did you, in whole or in part, terminate anyone at the FBI because they worked on the Trump investigation or because they worked on January 6th?
No one at the FBI has been terminated for case assignments alone.
Okay, you're saying alone. Does that mean they were terminated in part because they were assigned to a January 6th case or assigned to the Mar-a-Lago case? You're being very precise here, Mr. Patel. You're saying alone. That means they were fired in part because they were assigned those cases. Is that your testimony?
Absolutely not. But if you want to keep
Okay,
putting words
well,
in my mouth,
then
go
let me
ahead.
ask you, let's strip away the word alone. Did you terminate or participate in any discipline of any FBI employee in whole or in part because of their work on an investigation of Donald Trump or January 6th? Yes or no?
Any terminations at the FBI by employees.
No, I'm
since
asking you a very specific
And I'm
question.
going to answer the question, but you don't like the answer because it's the
No,
truth and it
I
guts
want
your
an answer to my
narrative.
question. I don't want an answer to someone else's question. So let me just be precise, and I ask for a yes or no answer. Did you ever terminate or discipline an FBI employee in whole or in part because they had been assigned or worked on an investigation of Donald Trump or January 6th? Yes or
FBI
no?
employees are only terminated
Yes
if
or
they
no,
fail
Mr.
to
Patel?
uphold their oaths of
Yes or
office
no?
and duty.
You're not
at the
answering my
FBI
question.
I
You're
don't
not
have to
answering my
answer your
question.
question yes or no because you're setting up a trap so you can have a
Oh, no,
media
I'm not
narrative.
setting up a trap
and I'm not
unless-
giving it to you.
Unless it's true that you fired people.
People
in
have
whole
been
or in part
terminated at
because
the
they-
FBI who failed to uphold
they were
the
assigned
standards
to.
that the FBI requires them
Did you
to
tell?
uphold.
Did you tell anyone at the FBI, all FBI employees who they identified who had worked on cases against President Trump would be removed from their jobs? Did you tell that to someone at the FBI?
Say that I would remove people for case assignments?
That people that were identified as having worked on cases against President Trump would be removed from their jobs? Did you tell that to someone at the FBI?
People are not removed
Just
for case
answer my question.
assignments.
Just answer my question. Did you tell that to
People
someone?
are not removed for case
No,
assignments.
you're not
and
answering
I
my
would-
question.
And I would
Mr.
never
Patel,
tell anyone.
Did you tell someone at the FBI that FBI employees identified as having worked on cases against President Trump would be removed from their jobs? Yes or no, did you tell someone that?
I would never tell anyone at the FBI that they're being removed for basically their case assignments.
Okay, so anyone who said that would be lying. Is that your testimony?
Anyone can say whatever they want.
No, I know, but you're saying they were a liar.
I'm telling you what I said.
Because this is in the complaint against you, Mr. Patel. So you're saying Mr. Driscoll and others are liars?
I'm not going to address the complaint in the ongoing
Okay, well then let me ask you, have you ever told anyone at the FBI that the FBI tried to put the president in jail and he hasn't forgotten it, and that your job depended on the removal of agents who worked on cases against the president?
No.
Did you ever tell anyone that?
No.
Did you ever tell anyone that you knew these summary firings you were undertaking were illegal, likely illegal, and that you would be sued and later deposed? Did you ever tell anyone that?
No firings at the FBI or terminations were done for anything other than justified
Did you ever
cause.
tell anyone that, Mr.
No,
Patel? Why don't you
no
answer my question?
terminations at the FBI were ever done in my tenure for anything other than failing
Did you ever
to
tell
uphold
anyone
the
that,
oath of
Mr.
the
Patel? You willing to
office
answer
or
the
the
question?
FBI.
I guess
I
you're
have
not willing to
answered
answer the
it.
question.
This is the centerpiece of the hearing, and it is built on one of the most revealing exchanges in any Patel testimony. The senator presses with increasing precision. If agents said you fired them for political retribution, would they be lying? Patel says he's only speaking to his own actions. Everyone can make their allegations. The senator pushes, so you're not saying they're lying? Patel pivots to standard and constitutional oaths. The senator then surgically dismantles Patel's carefully chosen word. Patel keeps saying no one is terminated for case assignments alone. The senator catches it immediately. That word alone means they were terminated in part because of those assignments. Patel says absolutely not. The senator strips the word away entirely. Yes or no? Did you terminate anyone in whole or in part because they worked on Trump or January 6th investigations? Patel's answer is the most revealing moment of the hearing. I don't have to answer yes or no because you're setting up a trap. The senator's response needs no elaboration. Unless it's true, it's not a trap. It's just a question. Then the senator goes further. Did you tell anyone at the FBI that agents who worked on Trump cases would be removed? Did you tell anyone the FBI tried to put the president in jail and he hasn't forgotten it? Did you tell anyone the firings were likely illegal and you'd be sued and deposed? 3 specific alleged statements, 3 flat denials, but notice Patel never calls the people alleging these things liars. He says anyone can make their allegations. That careful distinction is the tell of someone managing legal exposure, not someone confidently denying falsehoods.
So let me move on. Let me move on to the Epstein files. You said you're the most transparent FBI director in history, so I'm going to put you to the test. In 2024, you were asked by Glenn Beck about Epstein's Black Book. And you said, he asked, who has Jeffrey Epstein's Black Book? And you said, Black Book, FBI. And he said, but who? That is, I mean theirs. And you said, oh, that's under the direct control of the director of the FBI. That's what you said. Was that true, Mr. Patel?
I'll rely on you quoting it accurately. I did that a
Was
couple
it
of years
true
ago.
what you represented to Mr. Beck and the president's supporters out there, or were you lying?
No.
Was it true that the Black Book, Epstein's Black Book, was in the possession of the FBI director?
The Black Book was in the possession of the FBI.
Okay, so now that you're the FBI director, you have possession of the Black Book, right?
That index has been released.
So you have Jeffrey Epstein's Black Book?
What is known as Jeffrey Epstein's Black Book has been released by us.
And you released it. And let me follow up on Senator Kennedy's question, because he asked you, and I'll be very precise here, you've seen most of the files. Who, if anyone, did Epstein traffic these young women to besides himself? And you said, himself. There's no credible information, none. If there were, I would bring the case yesterday that he trafficked to other individuals. And Kennedy, the information we have, again, is limited. And Senator Kennedy said, the answer is no one. And you said, for the information we have.
The senator pivots to Epstein with a specific pre-existing quote that Patel cannot escape. In 2024, on Glenn Beck's program, Patel said Epstein's Black Book was under the direct control of the FBI director. That was his words, not a characterization, not a summary, his exact words. The senator asks, was that true? Patel confirms the Black Book was in FBI possession. The senator follows, so now that you're the director, you have it. Patel says what is known as the Black Book has been released. Then comes the question that has now appeared in multiple hearings without a clean answer. Senator Kennedy previously asked, who, if anyone, did Epstein traffic these young women to, besides himself? Patel's answer then and today is the same. No credible information exists that he trafficked anyone else. The senator presses, so your testimony is that Jeffrey Epstein trafficked no one to anyone but himself. Patel clarifies he never said Epstein didn't traffic others, but that 3 administrations reviewed the same files and found no credible leads to prosecute. That answer sits directly alongside 302 witness interview documents where victims named at least 20 men, a Hollywood producer, a royal prince, 6 billionaires, a rock star, to the FBI by description. 3 administrations reviewed those files. None prosecuted anyone. And the senator is about to reveal something from the Maxwell interview that makes that pattern even harder to explain.
So is it your testimony today that in all of the Epstein files, that Jeffrey Epstein trafficked no one to anyone but himself. Is that your testimony, Mr.
I never
Patel?
said Jeffrey Epstein didn't traffic anyone else.
Did he traffic any young woman to someone other than himself? That was Mr. Kennedy's question,
And I
Senator Kennedy's
said
question.
the information that 3 administrations have had access to
I'm
have
asking
made
you-
determinations that there are no investigative leads that were credible to prosecute and investigate any others. I'm
Well,
specifically
I'm asking
stating
you whether
we
it's
were
your
working on.
testimony today.
Well,
that-
you just read
that
it, and I said it 10 minutes ago, so let the record reflect my
I
testimony.
just want to make sure there's no misunderstanding, because there are victims like Virginia Guifer who have testified otherwise, who have said otherwise, and you're telling the American people today that the Epstein list is a single name and it's Jeffrey Epstein. That's what we're to believe?
That's not what I'm saying. That's what you're saying, and
Well,
you
let
can
me-
say
let me
whatever
ask
you
Let
want.
me ask you this. When Todd Blanche went to interview Ghislaine Maxwell, she said, but did I think these guys were coming for that? I really don't. If you met Epstein, there's no way that this cast of characters, of which it's extraordinary, and some are in your cabinet, who you value as your co-workers, and you know would be with him if he was a creep or because they wanted sexual favors. A man wants sexual favors, he will find that. They didn't have to come to Epstein for that. And the next question Todd Blanche, the president's former criminal defense lawyer, asked is not who in the cabinet, who are you referring to? His question is, so when's the last time you think you were with Mr. Epstein when he got a massage? So let me ask you, who are those cabinet members that Ghislaine Maxwell was referring to that were part of this cast of characters associated with Mr. Epstein? Who are they?
The Deputy Attorney General took the aggressive step that no one else did and interviewed Ms. Maxwell for
I'm
2
asking you,
days,
who are
and we
the ca-
released
who are
the
the cabinet
entirety
members?
of that
Who are the cabinet
transcript.
members?
I do not have that transcript in front of me. You're picking it piecemeal. The American
And-
public can
and
read the entirety of
Let me
that.
ask you one last question, because you clearly won't tell us the cabinet members associated with Mr. Epstein. Let me ask you one last question. Right after she gives this testimony in front of an FBI agent, among others, she's transferred to a minimum security prison not suitable for a sex offender like herself. Who made that decision and why?
The Bureau of Prisons.
This is the section that will define this hearing in public memory, and it requires the Maxwell interview transcript to be understood fully. The DOJ itself released that transcript. The senator is reading from it directly. Maxwell told Blanche during her interview that some of the men in Epstein's circle are in your cabinet, people Trump values as co-workers. She said these men didn't need to go to Epstein for sexual favors. They could find that anywhere. She implied their presence was about something else entirely. The senator identifies the single most important detail in the entire transcript. What did Blanche ask next? Not who in the cabinet are you referring to. His next question was, when's the last time you think you were with Mr. Epstein when he got a massage? The president's former personal criminal defense lawyer, now serving as Deputy Attorney General, had Maxwell naming cabinet members in an Epstein interview and chose not to follow up on who those cabinet members were. The senator asks Patel directly, who are those cabinet members Maxwell was referring to? Patel says the full transcript has been released and he doesn't have it in front of him. He's not going to answer piecemeal. Then comes the final detail that the senator saves for last. Right after Maxwell gave that interview, with those cabinet member references, with an FBI agent present, she was transferred to a minimum security prison not classified as appropriate for a convicted sex offender. The Bureau of Prisons decided it on their own, completely unrelated to the interview, completely unrelated to anything she said. The senator asked the question that needs no follow-up. You want the American people to believe that? Do you think they're stupid?
The Bureau of Prisons decided on their own, without any consultation with Blanche or anyone else, that they were going to suddenly, after this interview, completely unrelated to this interview, completely unrelated to anything she said, move her to a prison not suitable for a sex offender. You want the American people to believe that? Do you think they're stupid?
No, I think the American people believe the truth, that I'm not in the weeds on the everyday movements of
you're not in
inmates.
the weeds?
What I am
The
doing is
most-
protecting
the
this country,
most- the
providing
most
historic
significant
reform,
witness-
and
the most
combating the
significant witness,
weaponization of
the
intelligence
Epstein
by the likes
files
of you.
cover-up
And we have
gets
countlessly proven you to
from
be a
your
liar in
administration,
Russiagate, in
and you
January
call that
6th.
being
You are
in
the
the
biggest
weeds?
fraud to ever sit in the
This
United States
stinks to
Senate.
high
You are a
heaven.
disgrace to this
This stinks to high
institution
heaven.
and an utter
And
coward.
I'm not surprised.
I'm not surprised that you continue to lie from your perch and put on a show so you can go raise money for your charade. You are a political buffoon at best.
Well, you can take an internet troll.
Take it to the bank that the FBI is protecting this country and the state and citizens of the California. We are bringing historic reform.
Point of order.
But all you care about is a child sex predator that was prosecuted by a prior administration, and the Obama Justice Department and the Biden Justice Department did squat. And what did President Trump do? Bring new charges courageously. And what have we done?
Chairman,
you said
take
I'm the
control
most
of this
transparent
situation.
FBI director in history.
Take control of this
33,000 pages of information to you. I challenge you to say anything credibly to the truth. Go ahead and run to the cameras where you want to go now.
This is the moment that ends the hearing, and it ends in a way that no previous Patel testimony has. Under the weight of the Maxwell transfer question, the cabinet member question, and the 6 unanswered versions of the case assignment question, Patel abandons all institutional language entirely. He calls the senator the biggest fraud to ever sit in the United States Senate, a disgrace, an utter coward, a political buffoon. He says the senator continues to lie from his perch and puts on a show to raise money for a charade. Then, still not finished, he tells the senator to run to the cameras wherever he wants to go. As an independent journalist, this closing is the most significant thing Patel has done in any hearing in this series. Not because the insults are shocking, because of what they reveal about the pressure points. Every time Patel has faced a question with a clean answer that would hurt him, he has pivoted, deflected, or invoked ongoing litigation. But the Maxwell transfer question, cabinet members named, next question about a massage, then a prison transfer, produced something different. It produced rage. And in accountability journalism, rage is almost always a signal about where the truth is located. He closes by defending his Epstein transparency record, 33,000 pages released, the most transparent FBI director in history. But the transcript he doesn't have in front of him, the cabinet members whose names he won't give, and the prison transfer that happened the day after Maxwell named them, those are the 3 things that 33,000 pages don't explain. And the American public is watching to see if anyone with the authority to demand those answers ever actually does.
Director Patel, before you joined the FBI, you railed against it for covering up Jeffrey Epstein's human trafficking ring. Let me refresh your memory with this clip.
It has Epstein's list. They're sitting on it. That doesn't seem like something you should do. You're protecting the world's foremost predator. That seems like an evil thing to do, regardless of who may be embarrassed in the release of that list. Why is the FBI protecting the greatest pederast, the largest scale pederast in human history?
Simple, because of who's on that list.
So you finished that December 2023 interview with a challenge to the FBI and harsh words for Republicans in Congress for not getting the Epstein files out to the public.
Boy pants, and let us know who the pedophiles are.
Put on your big boy pants and let us know who the pedophiles are, you said. You emphasized that the president and the FBI director each had complete authority to release Epstein's client list. You said Epstein's black book is under the, quote, direct control of the director of the FBI. Look at this clip.
This is way off the topic, but who has Jeffrey Epstein's
Black Book?
Black Book?
FBI.
But who? That is, I mean, there's...
Oh, that's under direct control of the director of the FBI.
All right, so you were sworn in as director more than 200 days ago. Now the Black Book is under your direct control. So why haven't you released the names of Epstein's co-conspirators in the rape and sex trafficking of young women and girls?
The technique here is worth naming precisely. Raskin isn't asserting his own opinion about what should happen with these files. He's holding Patel to Patel's own recorded public standard, which is a much harder position to argue against than ordinary hostile questioning, because disputing it means disputing your own past statement on the record, the Rolodex. Answer is the first real crack in this clip, and it's a factual mismatch worth being precise about. Raskin asked about material the FBI director said was under his direct control. Patel's answer redirects to something a journalist already published years earlier through a completely different channel. That's not the same category of disclosure, and it doesn't actually answer what was asked. It answers an adjacent question instead. It's also fair to note what this clip doesn't prove. Patel holding a public position before he had access to classified investigative material, court orders, or victim protection statutes doesn't automatically mean bad faith once he's inside the system facing those constraints. That's the real tension the rest of the exchange is fighting over.
The Rolodex
which is what everybody colloquially refers to as the Black Book, has been released.
Oh, no, you're talking about what the journalist got 5 years ago? No, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about what you were talking about there,
That's
the Black
exactly
Book
what I
under
was
the direct
talking.
control of the FBI director.
We have released more material than anyone else before. The Biden administration, Obama administration had the exact opportunities to release this material, and they never did. And if you are selling the men and women of the FBI,
Why
we're
have
not
you
going after
changed your
child
position?
predators. Hang on, you said we're not going after child predators. 1,500 child predators arrested this year, 35% increase,
I'll reclaim my time.
4,700 child victims
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to
found.
reclaim my time if you could instruct the witness. Why have you changed your position? There you were saying it's under the direct control of the FBI director and all of it should be released. Why have you changed your
Everything
position?
that has been lawfully permitted to be released has been released. And as I told you,
Really?
the investigation was limited. And let me make something crystal clear. I never said Jeffrey Epstein didn't traffic other people, other women, and they're not other victims. This is the investigation we were given from 2006, 7, and 8, and the search warrants from 2006, 7, and 8. That's what we're working with.
Well, wait.
This is a real pivot in subject matter, not just tone. From why hasn't specific material been released to, is the FBI prioritizing child predator cases at all? Patel's arrest statistic is worth evaluating on its own terms. A 35% increase in arrests, if accurate, is a legitimate and checkable institutional metric about enforcement activity. But it's also not responsive to Raskin's actual question. Citing enforcement numbers answers is the FBI doing this kind of work broadly, not why hasn't this specific file been released. Both things can be true simultaneously. The FBI can be actively arresting predators nationally, while still not releasing material it previously said was within the director's direct control. Conflating the two is a common move in oversight hearings, and it's worth flagging exactly where the redirect happens, rather than letting the strong statistic obscure that the original question went unanswered.
Have you released all of the stuff that the FBI has seized from Epstein's house? The computers, the emails, the file cabinets, the documents? What about the financial records? Have you released all of that?
Everything the court has allowed us to
Which
release.
court are you talking about?
3 separate federal courts have come in and said.
We're
there are
talking about the
3
evidence you've got. It's got nothing to do with what those courts have.
Do you have any
We're talking
idea
about
how the
evidence-
law works?
Wait.
Do you want me to break the law in a federal judge's order?
No,
to
I want you to
satisfy
follow your own
curiosity?
word, Director Patel. You said up there it was under the direct control of the FBI director. He had the black
And
book.
everything I have direct control over, we have gone to court. You haven't.
Complete
We
your
went
sentence.
to court.
Everything you have direct
We-
control over, you
we
said.
have gone to court, and everything we have direct
Director
control
Patel,
over
complete your
and
sentence.
can
You said
lawfully
everything-
I'd like to
release,
the
we're
gentleman-
releasing.
He'd like to complete his answer.
You began the sentence, everything you have direct control over, and then you stopped that sentence. You have released everything that you have direct control over?
I have direct control over and can lawfully release. If you're not familiar with the court orders, that's not my fault.
Oh, I'm
Go
perfectly,
look at them.
I'm
Go
perfectly
to
familiar
court.
with them. But how did we prosecute Ghislaine Maxwell?
She was prosecuted with the investigatory material that was collected from 2001 and 2005 because of the non-prosecution agreements and the court orders on the investigations and search warrants. We were not able to develop new information. And oh, by the way, Jeffrey Epstein was out for 12 years, and the Obama and Biden administration did nothing to look at his work, his pedophile network. If you want to blame me, that's fine. But now you're blaming the men and women who conducted
No,
this
stop
great
that.
search.
I'm not blaming anybody other than you. You're not keeping your word. You said that you would release all of the materials
Has
under your
anyone
direct
released
control.
more information on Epstein than I have? Has
Well,
anyone?
much
did
more-
Comey, did Ray?
Much
Did
more.
they?
Excuse me. Much more has come out in the days since the American people in Congress have been demanding it, but it's coming out in dribs and drabs. Why don't you just release the entire file as you promised to do?
I literally just told you, there are multiple federal court orders. I'm not going to break the law to satisfy your curiosity. You didn't join us when we filed court to release the court orders. You could have. You have lawyers. You could have shown up. You didn't do that.
That's a tiny fraction of the material we're
That
talking
is
about.
not.
It is
How
a
do you-
tiny fraction.
How do you know that? Have you seen everything?
It's all
How do
misdirection.
you know?
This final segment is where the exchange becomes genuinely hard to adjudicate from the outside, and it's worth resisting the urge to declare a clean winner. Court orders and non-prosecution agreements from years before Patel's tenure can absolutely constrain what a sitting director is legally permitted to release. That's a real legal mechanism, not an invented excuse. At the same time, Raskin's core challenge stands on its own footing. Patel's earlier public statement was specifically that this material was under his direct control, not merely that it existed somewhere in the federal system. Those are two different legal postures, and this exchange never fully resolves which one accurately describes the current situation. The pivot to blaming prior administrations is worth naming as a specific rhetorical device, separate from whether it's factually accurate. It may well be true that earlier administrations didn't aggressively pursue Epstein while he was free, but that historical fact doesn't answer the narrower, present-tense question of what Patel's FBI is doing with material it already holds today. Redirecting to the past doesn't discharge a current director's obligations, even where the historical claim itself checks out. The closing question, how can Patel be certain only a tiny fracture is withheld without personally reviewing everything, is the right note to end on, because it's the one question in this entire exchange that neither side actually resolves. That's the tension worth leaving the viewer with.
Yesterday, Congressman Massey and I went to the Department of Justice to read the unredacted Epstein files. We spent about 2 hours there, and we learned that 70 to 80% of the files are still redacted. In fact, there were 6 wealthy, powerful men that the DOJ hid for no apparent reason. When Congressman Massey and I pointed this out to the Department of Justice, they acknowledged their mistake. And now they have revealed the identity of these 6 powerful men. These men are Salvatore Navora, Zorab Mikaladze, Leopig Leonor, Nicola Caputa, Sultan Ahmed bin Sulayem, CEO of Dubai Ports World, and billionaire businessman Leslie Wexner, who was labeled as a co-conspirator by the FBI. Now, my question is, why did it take Thomas Massey and me going to the Justice Department to get these 6 men's identities to become public? And if we found 6 men that they were hiding in 2 hours, imagine how many men they are covering up for in those 3 million files. But the story gets worse. The reality is that Donald Trump's FBI scrubbed these files in March, long before Thomas Massey and I passed the Epstein Transparency Act.
Thank you, Mr.
Now, my bill is clear. The Epstein Transparency Act requires them to unredact those FBI files. And yet the Justice Department said to me and to Congressman Massey, we just uploaded whatever the FBI sent us. And guess what? The FBI sent scrubbed files. That means the survivor's statement to the FBI, naming rich and powerful men who went to Epstein's island, who went to his ranch, who went to his home and raped and abused underage girls or saw underage girls being paraded, they're all hidden. They're all redacted. It's a little bit of a farce. They're inviting all the members of Congress to go to see the Department of Justice, quote-unquote, unredacted files, but they've got all redacted files from the FBI. And it's not the fault of the Justice Department attorneys. They were just told upload things that Donald Trump's FBI had already scrubbed. It's a blatant violation of the Epstein Transparency Act, but it also asks a fundamental question. Who are they protecting? Why are they protecting these rich and powerful men, people I call part of the Epstein class? Why are we in a country where there is no elite accountability for people who do the most heinous things? You have, in England, the king now calling for an investigation and possible prosecution of his own brother. You have in Norway, the princess who no longer has support to be the queen. And yet in the United States of America, we have someone in the cabinet, Howard Lutnick, who is all over these Epstein files, who allegedly had business with Epstein after he was convicted of pedophilia, and he still is in the cabinet. We need to ask ourselves, are we in America going to have elite accountability? Are we going to call on rich and powerful people who broke the law or cavorted with a pedophile, a convicted pedophile? Are we going to call them to account? Are we going to have prosecutions for billionaires who went to this island and either raped underage girls or saw underage girls being raped and didn't say anything? Are we going to have investigations? I'll tell you what this is about. It's not just about the 1,200 survivors. It's about 2 tiers of justice in America. It's about people who can accumulate wealth and power and don't have to care about the rest of America. They have destroyed so much of this country. Income inequality is at a 60-year high. Workers' salaries are less than they have been for 75 years as a part of GDP. Somehow this country seems to be working for the rich and powerful, but it's not working for ordinary working class Americans. I say enough. It's time to begin with accountability for the Epstein class. Hold them in front of Congress, those people who visited the island or did business with Epstein after he was a convicted pedophile. Investigate them, prosecute them, and let's return to democratic accountability in the United States of America. Let's return to one system of justice in the United States of America. Let's return to a place where every American has a stake in this country.
The sequence Khanna describes matters more than the headline redaction percentage. He isn't simply saying files are heavily redacted. Some redaction is legitimate and legally required to protect victims' identities. What he's alleging is narrower and more serious, that 6 specific names came out only after direct confrontation, which implies the redactions weren't applied on a consistent legal standard, but selectively until challenged. That distinction, consistent legal redaction versus selective concealment exposed under pressure, is the actual substance of the accusation, not the 70 to 80% figure alone. It's worth noting what Khanna doesn't claim here. He doesn't allege any of the 6 men have been charged with a crime. An independent reporting after this speech found several of the 6 had no established connection to Epstein at all, apparently included in an unrelated law enforcement photo array. That caveat belongs alongside the headline, because being named in a redacted file and being implicated in wrongdoing are not the same thing, and Khanna's own language is nobly careful not to claim otherwise. The timeline claim is the load-bearing part of the middle section, and it's worth explaining why. If the FBI applied these redactions back in March, before the transparency law took effect, then DOJ staff processing the public release afterward may genuinely have been working from source material already altered upstream, a different, less damning story than DOJ actively defying a live law. Khanna makes this distinction himself, explicitly saying it's not the fault of the Justice Department attorneys, the notably measured concession inside a speech built around an accountability accusation, and one that lends more credibility to the parts of the claim he doesn't walk back. The Wexner detail is separately significant because it isn't Khanna's characterization. It's a label the FBI itself applied in a 2019 document, according to his account, later redacted from public release. The international comparisons in the back half are doing specific rhetorical work. Khanna argues other democracies have shown willingness to hold even royal family members accountable for Epstein associations, contrasting that with the U.S. South not applying the same standard to a sitting cabinet official. Whether that comparison holds depends on facts this speech doesn't fully establish. The nature and extent of Lutnick's alleged post-conviction dealings with Epstein aren't detailed here, only asserted, and that gap is worth holding on to rather than treating as settled. The closing turn toward income inequality and 2 tiers of justice shifts registers from a factual, document-based accountability argument into a broader political and moral argument about class and power. Keeping those 2 registers distinct is useful for judging the speech fairly. The claims about the 6 men and the DOJ timeline are checkable against public records. The argument about elite accountability generally is a values claim reasonable people can weigh differently, and the speech doesn't ask you to confuse the 2, even if the transition between them is seamless.